And welcome to a brand new episode of VOTV by Vijay Bhumi. Like this has been a historic moment for India, it is also a very historic and a very special episode for VOTV by Vijay Bhumi. We are joined by none other than Olympian Mr. Sajjan Prakash. I can't even tell you how excited I have been for this conversation. Also, because the association with Sajjan has been for very many years. I have seen him train tirelessly with my brother and seen him emerge truly as a sports person that I look up to and I'm so inspired by. I'm sure he has definitely caught the inspiration and it has been an idol to a lot of the people who are joining me in today's conversation. He's the first Indian swimmer to qualify for two Olympic Games. And also on the 26th of June, he was the first Indian swimmer in the entire history of Indian swimming to clock the Group A Olympic qualifier time. He's as of this year, he's the holder of 11 national records, and these are in events spanning various different styles of swimming like freestyle, butterfly, medley, and relay categories. I mean, really, truly remarkable achievements. And I think I'm not wrong when I say this. Sajan, me, along with everybody who's joining me today, we are so proud of your achievements and we're all going to be rooting for you in the 2021 Tokyo Olympics. Thank you very much, and I welcome you warmly to VOTV by Vijay Bhumi.
Thank you. Thanks for the amazing introduction. I am really glad I'm here with you all today.
Thank you so much. So, I'm sure everybody who's joined me today in large numbers, they all want to know so much about your journey, about how you started, how did swimming actually catch your fancy, how did you go on despite so many adversities in your swimming career. So, I do not want to keep everybody away from the inspiring journey of Mr. Sajjan Prakash. So, let's just straight deep dive into the questions. To all my viewers who are joining me, I'm sure you have so many questions. You're curious to know so much about Sajjan, about what drives him, what motivates him. So make sure you're sending me a lot of your questions in the chat box, and I will take those up with Sajjan in our conversation today. So, Sajjan, let's start off with the first question. What is your earliest memory of swimming, and how did you end up choosing swimming as the sport that you wanted to focus on?
First of all, my I would say that my mother was an athlete. She was playing for India as well, and she's from track and field. And she moved to Neyveli. She got a job in sports quota at that point, and it's there in the sports gene is there in that family. So at the age of 5, I just went for a swim because I was very scared of water, and my mom put me in many other sports as well to just play around. But I picked up really swimming at the age of 8 and slowly going for the sub junior level competitions and the non medalist meets, and then the team was really great there. And the coaches were very professional. And slowly I started progressing in the sport. And that's when I realized. And at the age of 12, I first won my national medal. And I used to be a sprinter. And then in 2011, when I was 17, I moved to Bangalore. And that was the time I really saw uh, the the amount of training of the best of swimmers from in India who used to train there in Basangudi Aquatic Center with also Pranav there. And he must be sure that how much effort we put in every day and the dedication of Pradeep sir about it. I think he should talk about it later. Yeah, it's been a life-changing experience for me in 2011 when I came to Bangalore and started training with Pradeep sir. From then on, my first breakthrough was my first national. I became national champion in 2013 in 400-meter freestyle, and in 2014 in 1500-meter freestyle, and 2015 I won the best athlete of the national games. And that went through, and for 1 year, the next 1 year, we focused totally on Rio to qualify for the Olympics. And that's when I totally shift my focus to 200-meter butterfly, and today I'm going to the second Olympics.
Wow. I mean, it's really amazing how you just make it sound so easy breezy. And you're absolutely right. I mean, kudos to the entire team at Baswangudi Aquatic Center, especially Pradeep Kumar sir, for the amount of effort that he puts into training you and all the other swimmers at the center. It's really amazing because I don't think I would be wrong in saying this, that Baswangudi Aquatic Center has produced a large number of Arjuna awardees, Olympians from the swimming category. So
Yeah,
clearly, Pradeep sir has a big hand in it for sure. And I'm
yeah,
that thing, I think this is definitely going to be a revelation for a lot of my viewers who are joining me today. The fact that actually your mother was also a track and field athlete. So wow, clearly runs in the family. And you started swimming as
yeah,
young as 5. So I think
yeah.
that truly is so amazing. So it's been what, 23 years since you've been swimming?
22 years. Yeah,
Wow, that's some dedication to the sport. Now,
yeah.
definitely, I would, later in my conversation with you, we'd probably come to a more detailed conversation on how come you ended up changing your stroke to butterfly. But before that, I think let's get some generic questions, and let's understand a little bit more about your life from you. So, you've given so many years of your life to swimming. Like you said, you've been swimming for the past 22 years. Now, if I were to ask you, what were some of the biggest sacrifices that you've had to make? So I have seen the life very closely of a competitive swimmer of Baswangudi Aquatic Center, and one has seen the amount of sacrifices that one has to make, especially in your childhood, in your school days. But we would love to hear from you that what were the major sacrifices you have had to make, especially if you had to compare your life, as a regular teenager versus, somebody who's in competitive sports.
There are many sacrifices, but some of it I would choose is that first thing in the morning, waking up at early in the morning and going and jumping in the cold pool. I think that's horrible, I would say, but it's the choices we make in life, and if we are sticking to those and choices and being consistent to that. Otherwise, in training, I would say training is the most important part, and we take training every day as so important as the competition day, and we are not going to be nervous. So there is no sluggish moments in training, and there is a lot of pain coming during training. We have targets. We need to be focused on that, and the biggest sacrifice is that I would say is not not letting the pain come in and pushing ourselves to a comfort zone. We are not going towards that, and only when we overcome the pain through that level, we are going to see the progress. I think it happens for anybody, not only as a swimmer, but otherwise, not able to eat the favorite dishes or uh, sleeping at the right time. It's all the choices we make. So it's sacrifices plus choices, what you've been consistent with.
Definitely. I think you've made a very imperative point there, Sajjan. The fact is that it's choices coupled with the fact is also sacrifices, and you lead a very regimented and disciplined lifestyle as a sports person. I mean, I think it's no joke when you say that you have to get up at 5:30 a.m. in the morning and jump into the pool, knowing the Bangalore weather. It's definitely a very chilling experience, literally, and it's
Yeah.
something that you do every single day. There are no breaks at all. Plus you have your physical training sessions as well, like after you finish you finish your training at the pool. So definitely it's very grueling, and I'm just so happy to hear how driven you are, because like you said, see, your choices are driven by, are actually a product of your drive and the motivation that you have. And clearly it's that drive and motivation and passion that has kept you going for the last 22 years. Now, I'm sure a lot of people here want to know, what does a day of an Olympian look like? So, what are your days looking like right now? How many hours are you training? How many hours do you sleep? What is the kind of food do you eat? So, if you can give us a little bit of a snippet of your day.
Train like normally, like other people in my team, and the week looks like this. We train 10 sessions of swimming per week and 4 dry land sessions. The 10 sessions of swimming comprises of 2 hours per session, and dry land will be another 2 hours. We break it down during the day according to the swim sessions. So we train about maybe 60, 70 kilometers per week. um, So, but we modify the workouts according to the competition. In off seasons, we go more yardage, and close to the competitions, we cut it short. But apart from this, you need to be recovering during the day, not having any other commitments or outside. You should be just sleeping and resting.
Wow, that's some serious training that you have been doing. And if I'm not wrong and I get the terminology correctly, since you're very close right now to your heats at Tokyo, so you must be tapering right now.
Yeah, we still have about today's 12th, right? So 12th, we have like 13 more days for my event. So we plan it accordingly.
Super, super. Wow. So you did say that, how even the time that you get between the day, you really have to focus on making sure your body is getting adequate rest and you really don't have the time. So like as a regular youngster of your age, you probably don't have the time to go and chill and, just hang out with your friends, etc. So that would actually, bring me to my next question, which is that when did you decide that you were going to get into full-time competitive swimming? I mean, and how did you arrive at this decision? Because Sajan, there's so many things that one thinks about, right? I mean, while you're getting into competitive swimming, some would actually say that it is a very risky professional choice. And also the fact that things may work, things may not work. So how did you make that decision? How did you cut out all that noise and say that, no, you know what, I'm going to dedicate myself fully to swimming?
I think this all came when I moved to Bangalore in 2011. When I totally, committed fully to swimming, I joined railways, and that was only to support my swimming. Um, the many people were giving because they don't understand sports, so they used to give this negative part of their comments. But what we did as a team is we supported each other to be stay strong, and encouraging each other to progress in our work. Mm, I think we just stick to our own business, and being consistent is the key. And focusing on your work only will make your work, make your progress in any profession, I would say.
That is very true, Sajan. But in your entire career, was there any time when you sort of had any sort of doubts on this decision, when you saw your peers that they were going and getting degrees from colleges and then they were getting jobs which were very well paying? So, were there any times when Sajan looked back and just thought that, is this a right choice that I have made? Or, I should have thought differently. Were there those points in your life?
Everyone goes through those confusions and 50-50 belief at that point. But I believe that if you love something so much, then you can't divert your mind for anything else. You have that love, you have the passion for that profession. I think you can do anything in that. So getting a degree, yes, it's a priority. Education is the must, and it's always helpful for anything. But I think I made the right decision because I love this sport, and I still try to learn a lot from this and try to progress in this.
Clearly you made the right decision because you have made the entire population of India so proud. I mean, to be the first Indian swimmer to qualify for two Olympics and to be the first to actually be there for two Olympic games is clearly, it's a marvelous and remarkable achievement. So clearly that decision that you took, your drive, your motivation, all of it was in the right place. Now, I have a lot of young athletes who are joining me today who draw inspiration from you. And I'm sure they want to know, along with their parents who are joining today, they'd all like to know that what is the kind of what support that an athlete needs in terms of family, training, facilities to train to become a competitive sports person and an Olympian, especially like you, because that's a dream that a lot of these young athletes harbor. So if you can share some pointers with them and their parents from your journey.
See, I think the basic things are a swimming pool and a coach, but you having the best team who is more supportive is the most important one. And more important to that, more important to that is that for any sportsman is that attitude. It's not about where you go, but it's about what you do. you need to be committed to your work. You need to be sincere, and having that kind of discipline is the most important thing you should be having. And more, coming to the technical side, yes, swimming is mostly very technical, because the more sports science involves in this, the more uh, the progression, the graph increases. So those facilities will happen in the future, but sticking to those basic things are the must.
Correct. So I think I'm so glad that you're talking about it and you've actually broken it down in such a rudimentary fashion for everybody that, getting the basics right is most important. So I think the most basic thing also, there are two components of it. And one component I would like to deal with first, which is finding the right coach. Now,
Mhm.
your coach in your life plays a very important and pivotal role. I mean, like you said, the support, encouraging, motivation, all of that is very, very much required for an athlete. And this is something that one draws immensely from your coach. So what do you think, when these young athletes, who are probably looking at different sports from different categories, what should one look at while they are, finding the right coach for themselves?
See, there are as many. It's about we making the choices to move anywhere, to going to the right coach. But to find that, we human beings need some time to get adapt to any situations.
Yeah.
But like I said, that attitude, what you keep at when you join, you need to be trusting your coach fully. If it works, it doesn't work, it's a different thing. But going towards one program, sticking to that, and listening to your coach and trusting the program will make a difference. Then if it happens or not, or if there are similar situations where some people are specific in their own way, they have to make their own choices in that case.
Correct. I think this is that's a very, very important piece of advice you've shared with everybody, that the fact that you need to trust and actually stick on for a period of time. I mean, sometimes, whenever we go into a new environment, at times, anybody takes some time to adapt and evolve. So it's important for us to actually give ourselves the time to adapt, give also the, time for the strategy to sort of map out in itself, the training to map out in itself, and then sort of go with the flow. Sometimes we are so much in a hurry that you want to reach that pinnacle of success, that you're
Very
not
quick.
willing to give yourself that time and for
Yeah.
letting things to sort of roll out. Now the next part, and I think this is very important, especially for the parents who are joining us, that what is the kind of support that athletes must get from their home? Like what kind of an environment? Like you said, your mother was a sports person and she was a big inspiration for you. So, what is the kind of environment that parents must be giving to young athletes at home? How should they encourage? How should they motivate? What is your advice?
I think the parents should play the parents part, the coach should play the coach part. The hard part, it's in the pool for us. The coach does whatever is necessary there. Might be harsh sometimes, it might be very difficult at times. But if parents comes in this part, then it's going to be too stressful for the kid. So the parents have to play the soft corner on there. If it is too hard, then they have to play too soft. Then that combination and people understanding what sports is, and letting the kid enjoy the sport or enjoy the work, will have any will have improvements in that area. If you pressure anything too much, it's going to explode and it's going to stop at one point.
Correct. I think again, thank you so much, Sajjan, for putting that across very beautifully. The fact that actually parents and coaches have to work in tandem with each other. The fact is, they should have their
It's about
demarcated area.
balancing. It's
Yeah.
about balancing that.
Correct. Absolutely. The demarcated areas are important. That let the coach do what the coach does and let the parents do best what they do, which is parenting. And let
Yeah.
them not cross each other's domain, because then you're right, it can be very, very pressurizing for the children. Nowadays, one sees that, like, that, times are changing. There's a lot of pressure on young children. Parents are also going through a lot of pressure. So while parents are putting their children in sports also, they feel insecure. They are putting them in other classes, tuitions, and other sort of activities also, to make sure that the children have more sort of options available to them. What do you think about that? Is that something that one can balance with competitive sports like school, other activities, as well as the competitive sport? Is that something that can be balanced together, or does it require a very unidimensional focus where you only focus on one thing?
It's again about balancing things. I know parents, they want their kids to get the best out of everything, but you need to make the right choices. You need to let the kid first. You need to let the kid what the kid loves to do, and then the parents understanding that and acquiring that. I'm not a parent, but I can't give the best advice of it. But I think letting the kid what he does or she does, enjoy that, and then slowly moving towards the other part of the career or studies or whatever. I think balancing together but not putting too much of work on kids head will anyway not benefit at any point.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think that's very important. I think balance is absolutely key. And obviously I have to talk to you also about, I'm sure, I don't know how many people who are joining us here today actually know about the many adversities that you have had in your journey as a swimmer and as a sports person, which is the Kerala floods, like you said, your duty in the railways, then your biggest blow, which was your injury in the year 2019, which was actually a very, very serious injury that you went through. I want you to share with us what were those big, turning points that you went through. What were those adversities like, and how did Sajjan emerge victorious out of all of that?
Uh, for injury, I would say that's just when I was injured in 2019. Um, there were so many things going in the mind, and then the lockdown happened. I was away from the pool for 8 months, where I didn't have a pool to train, and the team was stuck. I was stuck in Thailand, and there was no physio support. I had this lot of disbelief whether I could do it, having the A qualification target to qualify for the Olympics. But it's about when you are not doing a work, it's about you keep being mentally stable is more important. To go when you start, you can physically become very stronger, because if your mind says that you could do it, you can do wonders in that case. So I think keeping that mental stability and being that mental peace around you is the most important key for anybody to go and become successful in your career. Having said that, with my team having being very supportive around me, that has changed the whole point of me in achieving this to this level.
Wow. I think you're absolutely right. Mental strength is something that is very underrated, and we don't talk about it. And that is so important for any kind of excellence you want to strive for.
Yeah,
Mental strength gives you that persistence to hang on. And it's
right.
really amazing. I hope the viewers can actually appreciate the fact that, he was injured. He had the Olympics qualifier on his head. Also, at the same time, he was stuck in Thailand. There was a pandemic, 8 months, there was no lockdown. So we can't even begin to imagine the kind of anxiety and frustration it can create for a sports person who has been preparing for this for 4 years straight, like apart from the other 18 years that you gave. But, this was the be all and end all of it. So
Yeah.
kudos to you, Sajjan, totally, for the kind of mental strength that you possess. Now I see there are a lot of questions that are coming in from our attendees who are attending this conversation today. So one of the young athletes joining us today says that I'm 19 years old and I love athletics very much. Is it too late for me to start a career in it, or can I give it a try? What do you say?
Give it always a try. You never know what's coming. If it's all about building your base very strong, so start doing the basic things right now. Maybe you will become something someday. You never know. So I feel don't directly jump into the extremes, but build your basics strong right now. You slowly work on your ethics, slowly work on your athleticism. I think that will make a huge impact slowly over the years.
Correct. That's very balanced advice coming from Sajan, that it's not too late, go for it, but take it easy. Like focus
Yeah.
on building your basics first, don't go extreme. Now I have, another question, somebody actually wanting to ask from your experience that after joining the railways, did, they encourage you? How did you manage things after joining the railways? And, how did you manage both things together, your job as well as your training? Because that would have been quite a difficult task for you.
First, when I joined, it was difficult because I was nowhere near the national levels of compared to the swimmers. But they were supportive. But I used to work also for 6 8 hours a day after finishing training, directly going to work and then coming back directly. It's very tiring. But after slowly starting to show the performance at the national level and going for many internationals and breaking slowly the barriers at my department levels, I think that has given a huge boost to um, giving time off and then slowly focusing only on my work. And then that changed the scenario for our Southwestern Railways, where many people got time offs and then they shifted the whole focus towards only swimming.
Wow. So, I mean, that was another journey for you altogether, where you actually had to perform, show them the achievements, and that's when a lot of doors started opening for you in terms of relaxation. Because otherwise, it would have been so. I can't even imagine how grueling it must be to do a 6 8 hour job along with that training in the morning, training in the evening. It would have been a very, very difficult part, I think, of your swimming career. Now, I have another young athlete who's asking me that. Can you please ask Sajan sir if it was difficult for him to convince his family for letting him pursue this sport as a profession? And what is his advice to young athletes who are struggling with this entire pressure that they face from their families, that you have to focus on academics and don't get too attracted to taking sports as a profession? I think this must be the dilemma a lot of young athletes must be facing.
For me personally, I didn't have any pressure apart from there is no pressure for me. But I see in my team wholesome that many people get to want to quickly progress in that sport. But in any profession, it takes time. It takes time to understand and learn and slowly progress in that. um, Having said that, for me there was no pressure from outside, but the parents, that was they play a huge role in that. They should be very understanding in a child's career.
No, you're absolutely right. So I think, I mean, what Sajan's trying to say, I think this is a constant dialogue that you need to be having with your parents and try to
Right.
are able to see the amount of effort.
That's to understand the sporting culture.
Yeah,
That's one thing we don't. They say sports don't have career. You can't make a life out of it, but it's not true. You can make a life out of it anywhere. You can make money anywhere, but you need to be
that's
sticking.
true.
If sports needs a lot of dedication and commitment towards it, so people are not very keen to put them on because it is painful. But and at the end of the day, you are doing something for a country, and it's also your responsibility.
Absolutely. I think you articulated that wonderfully for all our audience members who are joining us today. Now, we also have our audience members who want to know what are your expectations from the Tokyo Olympics 2021? So, what are the goals that Sajan has set for himself?
When I went to 2016 Rio Olympics, I thought, yeah, it's great. I qualified, and when I went there and when I finished 28th in 200 fly, um, I swam close to my personal best, but it was not enough. It was not close to anywhere near world standards. But right now, with doing 156.38 in 200 fly in Rome 10 days back, I'm very close to those semifinals time, and uh, it's not many people going to the Olympics on that day going to do their best. But having said that, going there and doing the best will get me closer to the semifinals. And my realistic target is that, and going to the finals is doable, and I'm looking forward to that.
We're all praying for you, and we're all sure that you're going to achieve your target wonderfully and successfully. And in our next conversation, we will be celebrating that. Now, I know we're running out of time, but I'm going to take two last questions because there's so many questions that are coming that I just want to be able to do justice to them. So there's a young swimmer who's asking me that, this particular swimmer got the fourth rank in the national level in 2019, but due to the pandemic, everything got ruined. And, this person's not been able to go to the pool since 2020 because of the lockdown. So what is your advice to such athletes? Because I'm sure there are many athletes.
How old is the swimmer?
So I don't have the age that is there with me, but to, all the athletes, the state level athletes, the national level athletes, who are in this position where they've not been able to train, there must be so much anxiety. So what is your advice to them?
This situation, it has never happened before. Like this Olympics, it's never going to happen, or I don't know, it's the first time in history. So when the lockdown happened, what we did is, keeping that momentum on, we tried to do as much as conditioning work. It's about when we wake up at 5 a.m. in the morning for swimming session. When the lockdown happened, we continued that. Just that we didn't have a pool to swim, but we tried to move around. We did a lot of exercises, doing that consistently, and it doesn't hurt you, or you don't get injured when you really start swimming. So I think keep your fitness, your cardiovascular activities on, because those things will help you not feel down or get injured when you start trail swimming, the conditioning.
Absolutely. I think that's very good advice. And I think this is across all the sports. So all the athletes joining from the various sporting categories, I think that's great advice, that maintain your same routine and try to do as much as you can on the fitness front, so that when you actually get a chance to go back to your courts, go back to the pools to train, etc., you are less prone to injury. Now, I think this is a very interesting question. Somebody wants to know from you, which is that what is the best part about competing, and also what are the emotions that you feel when you feel that you have swam really well? Like, what did you go through when you qualified the Olympic qualifying time at Rome?
The emotions, everything plays in the training, because we don't let anything affect, even though it does at some point. We prepare in training to not affect that. You cry, you laugh, you become everything. You do it in training. You suffer, you do that in training. But you tend to be more focused on the day of the meet, the important day, where your aim is only to just do your work right, what you have been doing for years, and not all these small emotions should not be coming across. We prepare for that moment every day in training, so we don't get so emotional or sad or anything during that nervousness. The main important thing, we don't get that on the day of the meet.
Wow. And clearly we can actually, during my conversation with you, I can just see that how well you're able to maintain your equanimity through the entire thing, which clearly shows that as an athlete, you've trained yourself so much to be able to keep your emotions at bay and to keep them in balance. Now, before I end this conversation, because I know you have to get to training right now, the last question I would like to ask you is this, that, a lot of athletes in India would like to know. So you have trained in India, you have trained in Thanepura, in Thailand. Currently, if I'm not wrong, you're training in Dubai. So what do you have to say? Do you think that in India, like, athletes who are looking to become Olympians like you, it's important for them to train overseas? Is there something that is more specialized, like one gets better there? What is your suggestion to these young athletes who are joining us, since you have seen it all?
I believe the opportunity we get is from what I did in the past, the work we did it in the past, the achievements. But again, I will say it's not about where do you go, but it's about what you do. It's about sticking to the listening, trusting the program first, and having patience, just sticking to the program and slowly progressing in that place. And then according to your level, you need to be having conversations with your coach, and that discussions, again, it's all specific. It's about individuality. I can't comment for the others. You progress first. You do what you can do the best, from where you are, and then you can take if you get an opportunity to go abroad or train at the best facilities.
Super. I think that's very good advice. So, for all the people who think that, who usually, state this reason that, the reason why we don't want to get into sports is because we don't have the best of facilities in India. I think that is a clear answer to that. The fact is that you can get your basics right here. And eventually, when you get the opportunity like Sajan did, you do have all these endless opportunities that are going to be available to you. I see there's one last question that is coming from another national level athlete who wants to ask you that if one is losing in a very tight game, how do you still keep the momentum high? So I think this is an athlete who is from a racket sport and not from swimming. But while you're playing a game, how do you ensure, like even in the pool, when you're swimming with all of these swimmers, how do you ensure that you are still keeping your momentum high even though you're getting intimidated by your players and how the others are swimming, etc., around you?
See, the failures, I think it's about failing. For me, having this target for the last 5 years, I only failed as many number of times when I went for the competitions. But it's all about your self-belief, how strong you are at the last moment. With all this struggles, it was so many obstacles in between. I had to overcome it, and then at the end of the day, I have to do it. Mistakes and failures are the secret of success. It's the first step.
Absolutely.
If there is no failures, there is no victory.
Absolutely. And I think if there's something that we have learned from today's conversation with Sajan, it's just about, how he has so beautifully managed to overcome each of these hurdles and obstacles and just be able to reach the pinnacle that he's at. With this, I'm going to bring this conversation to an end. What a wonderful conversation it has been, Sajan, to be able to learn from your journey. It's really so inspiring, and the modesty and the humbleness with which you're talking about your achievements, it truly speaks volumes about your character and about your sportsmanship. And I am definitely going to say we're all so proud of you. We're all going to be glued to the TV screens while you're going to be doing your heats, your semifinals, your finals, and we're all going to be saying a prayer for you, and we're sure you're going to emerge victorious. Thank you very much for taking out the time. I know it's a very busy time for you right now, so thank you very much for taking out the time and joining us this evening.
Thank you. Thank you. It was very nice talking to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. A big thank you to all the viewers for joining us in such a large number. It's so encouraging to see the kind of questions and the kind of responses you've had. I think this truly shows how all of us are rooting for Sajan and wishing him all the very best. I would also like to take this opportunity to announce that we are launching the second edition of the 404, which is the International Debate Competition for high school students. It's going to be starting on the 2nd of October, and students can win cash prizes up to 1 lakh rupees. So guys, make sure you stay tuned to this space for more, because this is a fantastic opportunity for young students to debate virtually and win 1 lakh rupees while sitting at home. Thank you very much, everybody. Again, it was truly an amazing conversation and a historic conversation for VOTV by Vijay Bhumi. Sajan, wishing you all the very best, and we are certain that you're going to do extremely well at the Tokyo Olympics.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you to all our viewers. Stay safe, everybody, and mask up.